So now we are having our final presentation for today. And as you know, Dr. Sam is a scientist, megalithic and pyramid researcher, and is an internationally acclaimed author with 18 books on ancient civilization. He was the anthropology professor and director for the Center of Anthropology at the American University. He is a foreign member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, the Alexandrian Archaeological Society, and Croatian Academy of Science and Art. Dr. Sam is the founder of the nonprofit, non-government Archaeological Park, Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation in Sarajevo. It is registered for archaeological digging, scientific research, and the promotion of archaeological tourism. We are blessed to have him once again, Dr. Sam.
Thank you very much. The organizers asked me to talk about the Mayan pyramids. The Mayan world encompassed 5 countries that we know today as Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize. They stopped rather suddenly in the 11th century with their construction, and they left them. For a couple of hundred years, nobody was there, and then the Indians from northern Mexico started coming to some of their cities. In the first half of the 16th century, the Spaniards came to Central America. They discovered some of their cities. They talked to the locals, asking them who built those pyramids and temples. The answer was, we don't know. But on their way to looking the precious gold, the Spaniards were destroying everything they could not understand. The cultural artifacts, the work of art, writings that belong to the original builders of those cities. We call them Mayas. In reality, we don't really know their true name. People who are called Mayas today, very poor inhabitants of Guatemala and Mexico, have nothing to do with those people who built the Mayan cities. There are more than 100,000 pyramids in the Mayan world. 97% of them still in the jungles and forests, covered by soil and vegetation. This pyramid in a northern Mayan city in Guatemala called Tikal was considered the biggest for the longest time. However, the new city was discovered in the northern Guatemalan jungles, 3 days walk from Tikal. We call it El Mirador. And almost all objects are still covered by forest. And to the right is the biggest pyramid. And we can see signs of some huge temples in the jungle. What do we know about the civilization based only on 3% of their cities, pyramids, temples, bridges, roads, work of art and culture? Almost nothing. However, non-scientific sites like Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica, and Smithsonian called Mayans the Neolithic culture. Neolith, it's a Stone Age era. Let's see if the primitive Neolithic man was able to leave the traces of these highly civilized examples. If this pyramid is cleared, it would look like this. It would be bigger than anything else in the Mayan world. In tiny Belize, the smallest Central American country, The Mayan built more than 1,000 cities, towns, and villages, and every one of them would have at least several pyramids. Today, only 8 sites are open for the public. In El Salvador, 4 sites are open for public. There are pyramids covered by soil, grass, forests. In western Honduras, the most artistic Mayan city of Copan. This is the biggest pyramid. As we can see, the trees are growing directly from the stairways. 30 years ago, archaeologists from Honduras and the United States started clearing those trees because the roots were destroying the stairways. During the job, they discovered that inside this pyramid there was 700 years old temple, perfectly preserved, which is nowadays called Rosalila Temple due to its rose color. Above the entrance, we can see the symbol for our planet. And above that one, the big white one, is the symbol for our galaxy, Hunabku, as the Mayan would call it. And to the left and to the right, or he is more obvious behind this handsome guy. To the left and to the right, we can see vehicles with the wheels, body of the vehicle, and the cabin. Another one. And in the cabin, we can see the face of the Mayas with the big nose and the big cheek. What is the message on this temple? They're showing 2 vehicles between our planet and the galaxy. One option is that there were a network of highways in the jungles of Honduras 2,000 years back with the many vehicles. And the other one, the one which is rather obvious, there was a way for them to journey between our planet and our galaxy, Milky Way. Examples of beautiful Mayan architecture are everywhere. This is the less known Mayan city of Bonampak in the Mexican state of Chiapas. You climb the top of the hill and you see the structure. Rather impressive, and you think that's it. But actually, the hill that you are standing on is a huge pyramid. This is the top of the pyramid. Chichen Itza, Temple of Black Jaguar. Palenque, probably the best known Mayan city in the central Mexican state of Chiapas. What we see here, Temple of Inscription. When you enter the archaeological park, on your right, 3 pyramids. 25 pyramids have been cleared from the jungle so far. Originally, Mayans had 1,229 pyramids in Palenque alone. 8 years ago, they discovered the tunnels going under this pyramid. You see the protection here? They don't allow tourists to get to those tunnels, unlike in Bosnia. You go under the pyramid, you can visit the tunnels that extends to under those 3 pyramids, but also it goes and connects all the structures in this Mayan city, and most probably it connects several other Mayan cities under the ground. Now, this is beautiful structure, but this is not the biggest Mayan pyramid. The one to the left, completely covered with the forest, is actually the biggest, the most superior, and the oldest Mayan pyramid in this city. Mexican Institute for Anthropology, a lot of money and a lot of experts, does not have any intention to clear this one, because it would change the narrative. The oldest are the most superior. That's not what they teach us in schools. More examples of Mayan architecture in some other smaller places, like Jail. Look at this temple, as we call it. We don't know its true purpose, but we can see beautiful architecture, rather similar to ancient Greek architecture, with those beautiful stone columns. Or Kabach on Yucatan Peninsula. Look at those pieces of 3D art. Or this one here. Or the wall of masks. Can you imagine during the evenings, sitting around the fire, elders would be talking about the ancient history, the story about the origin, the stories about the astronomy, and those three-dimensional pieces of arts would become alive. Several Mayan observatories. This is the one in Chichen Itza and Mayapan. Stelas are very often met in the Mayan cities. On these big stone megaliths, they would carve symbols, their writing, and years, the numbers. Now, as far as the symbols, we have recognized a little bit over 800 Mayan symbols, and little less than 200 we think that we deciphered fully or partially. 3/4, about 75%, we do not know what they represent, what they mean. But when it comes to the numbers, we know exactly. We think that our system of counting and decimals is the best and the simplest in the world. We have 10 digits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With those 10 digits, we can express any number. Thousands, millions, billions. Usually simpler it is, more advanced it is. Well, guess what? Mayans had only 2 different symbols for all numbers. 1 dot was number 1. 2 dots, number 2. 3 dots, number 3. 4 dots, number 4. Now, don't think that 1 billion dots is 1 billion. No, because after 4 dots, they got a line. 1 line, number 5. So 4 dots and 1 line, 4 plus 5, 9. 4 dots and 3 lines, 4, 5, 5, 5, 19. The first row would represent number from 1 to 19. The second row starts at 20. 1 dot, 20. 2 dots, 20 plus 20, 40. 4 dots, 80. So, the first row from 1 to 19. The second row from 20, well, I'll round it to 400. The third row from 400 to 8,000, always times 20. The fourth row from 8,000 times 20 to 160,000. The fifth row, 160,000 times 20, 3,200,000. So the fifth row, we arrived to millions. For millions, we need 7 digits, 1 and 6 zeros, right? So when we see those numbers on stelas, we know exactly the year they were talking about. And they were not using the term year, but days. So if you have 3 dots and line, it means 8 days. Something happened 8 days ago. So we are pretty sure about what those numbers were representing. Some events happened in the past. Eastern Guatemala, the town of Quirigua, also less known Mayan city. However, this city is the most famous for their stelas. And they describe the events happened long time ago. On this stela, which is 10.5 meters high, it's almost 40 feet in height, and 65 tons piece, one piece. They are showing the event that happened 1,800,000,000 days ago. It is about 5 million years ago. 5 million years. We think that we are the only civilization who have a concept of very long geological time. Not only hundreds, but thousands and millions and billions of years. Well, Mayan were describing something happened 5 million years ago. What? We do not know. But 2 more dates are even more intriguing. One is showing 4.5 billion, and another one 13 billion years. Now we need to ask astronomy and physics to help us. According to them, our planet was formed between 4 and 5 billion years ago. Mayans are using 4 and 5 billion. I think they were probably describing the time when our planet was formed. Again, according to them, the age of our universe is between 12 and 15 billion years. Mayans are mentioning 13 billion years ago something happened. Well, this Neolithic culture was pretty advanced. When it comes to their writing, they used symbols. And they were usually coming in sets of 4 symbols. For example, look at here. We have 4 symbols. When it comes to communication, there are, according to my classification, 4 levels of communication. The simplest are the signs. For example, you draw an arrow. That's a sign. It tells you, go this way. The second level is alphabet as we have today, A, B, C, D, and so on. Letters do not mean anything. You need to put 5, 8, or 10 letters together to get a word, to get a meaning. The next level, more advanced, are the symbols. Here we have the symbols. Every symbol has a meaning. For example, Kabbalah in the Promised Land, in Israel. It was used for the Bible. So the first Bible we are talking about, Old Testament, was written in Kabbalah. So, not letters, not stories, but symbols. no commas. So, other hieroglyphic writing, they are also symbols. Here we have very intriguing symbols. For example, look at the first symbol. That's not a face that we can meet on this planet. Look at this one here. Very interesting guy. Does not originate on this planet. Even the big one, the skull here, that's not something that belongs to any of two kingdoms, human or animal kingdom on this planet. How do you decipher, how do you translate messages from these symbols? And that's not all. And they were using those symbols. One symbol has a meaning. Usually it is a process. Let's say process of movement. Another symbol was another process, birth. Birth of life, birth of universe, birth of star systems, birth of animals, and so on. And then, not only that they had separate meanings, but when you put them together, those two symbols would communicate to each other. And in synergy, they were creating another meaning. And that's not all. The symbols were communicating from the first row to the one in the second row, and from the first row diagonally to the one in the second row. In order to decipher the messages on the stelas and other structures, you would need to have extremely advanced knowledge. And that's the reason why we will never completely decipher Mayan messages. Mayan civilization built a huge network of Sagbe road, Sagbe white roads. They had roads that were 35 feet in width. They had a network of highways, but they never used the wheel. What does that mean? It means that the purpose was something different. They were connecting their cities. And when they built them exactly the way how certain star constellations would lay out, looking from the earth, their stars. So when they were building their cities, they were matching proportionally the distance between the stars. So when you go from one city to another, it was like you travel from one star to another. So this gate at the beginning and the end of every Sagbe road would be considered a cosmic gate. When the Spanish conquerors came in the 16th century, they were destroying literally everything. Cities, temples, pyramids. They were using sometimes stones to build their palaces and cathedrals. And they were destroying the roads. By destroying the roads, they were destroying this astronomical and energetical connection, not only between the cities, but between the stars. In one of the codexes, only 5 remained untouched. Mayans described that this is their 7th mission. Once they complete it, they're going to move on. When the Spanish came, they considered those structures palaces. Like this one they called Governor Palace in the Mayan city of Uxmal. This was their thinking, their concept. Oh, it has to be, since it is so beautiful, it has to be a place where the governor resides. From this structure, if you go about 12 miles, there is a place called Chektsuk. And they are at 19 degrees. And interestingly enough, when you look at the night sky, this is exactly the path of the Venus, how it moves on the night sky in the most southern position. The connection between our planet and Venus is very significant for Mayas. It seems that they had something to do with the Venus and potential advanced life forms. Namely, on this wall of the Palace of Governor, on two sides, there are many numbers showing the ratio 5 to 8, 5 to 8, 5 to 8. Why? Venus moves on the night sky, we know that. And we know that it takes 5 different positions of this planet on the night sky until they complete one circle of 584 days. They call them synodic cycles. 5 of those cycluses are exactly 2,920 hour days. And 8 Earth years is 2,920 days. That's the reason why we have this relation 5 to 8, 5 to 8. A beautiful example of how the Mayans were tracking the movement of the most important star and cosmical body, our sun. They call it Father. On the first day of the spring equinox, and only on that day, the sun rises and it can be seen fully through the gate of this beautiful structure. Every other day, it's a little bit off, to the left or to the right. Kukulkan Pyramid in Mayan city of Chichen Itza, Yucatan, Mexico, has the similar astronomical feature. Twice a day, during the spring and the fall equinox, we can see the light. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's good now. Now, we can see the light as a series of stairs, like there is a body, a serpent body with the serpent head at the bottom, climbing down this pyramid, the spring equinox, and climbing up during the fall equinox. This is the phenomenon which can be observed only during those 2 days in the year. Imagine how much effort to figure out how to build the whole pyramid and how to lay out those stones. We know from the Spanish chronicles that they found thousands and thousands of the Mayan scrolls, which they burned in Yucatan and Guatemala. However, 5 are still alive that we know publicly of. One of them is Dresden Codex. So basically you would have a scroll which is about several meters long, and in this particular one, a lot of astronomical information. So, for example, they have a symbol for the planet Venus, and then they have 4 numbers. Numbers we know: 236, 90, 250, and 8. It totals 584, which I mentioned earlier. Why these numbers are significant? The first number, 2:36. Venus is visible from Mexico and Guatemala. You can see it on the sky. It is called the morning star. And as the sun, our planet and Venus move around the sun, for 90 days we can see the Venus. It is hidden behind the sun. And then the next cycle, it comes as the night star. And this cycle lasts for 250 days. And then again, for 8 days, it is not visible. And then it starts all again, 236, 90, 258. So the Mayans were astronomers. Not bad for the Neolithic culture. In Dresden Codex, they were obviously following the path of the Mercury. And their cycle would last from 104 to 132 days. The moon, they did calculate the length of the lunar month, 29.53059 days. That's how we calculate it. The Mayans, what they did, they took 4,400 days, which represent 149 lunar cycles, and it equals 29.53020. So they were right on the money. Mars, similar thing. When it comes to solar systems, Mayan knew about the concept of the solar system and the planets revolving around the sun. And our solar system moving within the Hunab Ku, moving with the Milky Way. And they knew that it would take 25,640 years for one full cycle in our galaxy. Mayans had 21 different calendars, and 2 of the calendars would cover this movement. It took 100 years for our civilization, using the most modern telescopes and computers, to calculate this number. Okay, enough about the solar system. One of the observatories in the Mayan world. Now here, the first floor, we can see 4 entrances. They were exactly aligned with the 4 cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. Then, upper floor, we could also see several windows, and they were showing the movement and position of the planet Venus and several star constellations, with the error less than 1 degree. Now, we do have Mayan calendars. You can find them anywhere, so I won't be talking a lot about them, but the first 16 calendars are available in the literature. Sometimes the cycluses were as short as 8 days, 220 days, 360 days, which would show the real duration of one revolution around our sun. 5 minutes. Since I'm the last speaker, we're going to extend this for about 20 more minutes. And something happened 11,700 years ago, and they added 5 more days. That was the period when our planet was hit by the pieces of destroyed planet between Mars and Jupiter. Okay, I'll go a little bit quicker. Acoustic engineering. The beauty of Mayan cities is that we can measure their sound features For example, in the Mayan city of Tulum, Yucatan, they had holes between certain structures, and based on different wind, is it southern wind or northern wind, they were producing different sounds, and they knew exactly what type of weather they're going to have tomorrow. And maybe most fascinating is again the case of Kukulkan Pyramid in Chichen Itza. Until 2007, you could climb this pyramid. After that, it was forbidden. I will explain you tomorrow why. It has to do something with the energy beam going through the top of the Kukulkan Pyramid. But after that, it was forbidden. But those of us, you, who were able to climb it, you could hear the echo climbing the pyramid. But it was not an echo of people climbing. It was more like an echo of the birds, it was like chirping sound. And there is a legend that every time you climb the pyramid, you invite the holy bird of Quetzal to visit your city. And really, their priests were climbing the pyramid twice a year only. And the sound really sounded like bird Quetzal. This is Quetzal in a natural habitat in Mexico. According to Mayans, it was the holy bird, and it represented their demigods and the spiritual dimension. Well, if we use the science, if we measure the frequency of this bird, it is between 900 Hertz and 1300 Hertz. And now let's measure the frequency of the sound produced while climbing up. Two things affect the frequency. One is the width of the stairs, and another one is the height of the stairs. Well, the frequency of the width is 1300 Hertz, and from the height 920 Hertz. It's exactly the same. Now, maybe this is a coincidence, but let's take a look. You see those people, how they are climbing down? They are using basically all four legs, or 2 legs and 2 hands. Why? It's very steep. When you look at the width, they were rather narrow. Why? Because the Mayans were about 5 foot high, meaning proportionally their shoes were smaller than average people today. So the width is understandable, but the height is about 3 times taller, higher than it should be, meaning they purposely built it this way to get this particular frequency. Every time you climb the top of Kukulkan Pyramid, you are opening the music box, inviting demigods to visit you again. That's it. Thank you very much. So tomorrow, 11:30, I guess, story about the Bosnian pyramids with all updates. And then Martha will have me from 2 to 4 to talk to selected group of people. And I'm always against, selection, elites, and the money, we don't care about it. And we're going to have a presentation in Hampton. I got my video projector, so it will be very interesting projection. I mean, you will love it. And I brought something special. I brought an artifact not built by humans, and I'll stop right there. Boom. Thank you very much.